Hi everyone, this is your Washington, Adams, and Jefferson quiz. Make sure you follow along with the questions. You can always stop, pause, and replay any of the questions. Question 1. The decision in Marbury versus Madison, 1803, expanded the power of the Supreme Court by A. Restricting the use of the elastic clause, B. Establishing the power of judicial review, C. Upholding the constitutionality of the National Bank, or D. Interpreting the Interstate Commerce Clause. Question 2. The Whiskey Rebellion occurred in response to A. Jay's Treaty, B. Hamilton's debt plan, C. The French Revolution, or D. The war between Britain and France. Question 3. Base your answers on the passage below and on your knowledge of social studies. Europe has a set of primary interests which to us have none or a very remote relation. Hence, she must be engaged in frequent controversies, the causes of which are essentially foreign to our concerns. Hence, therefore, it must be unwise in us to implicate or connect ourselves by artificial ties in the ordinary vicissitudes or changes of her politics, or the ordinary combinations and collisions of her friendships or enmities. President George Washington, Farewell Address, 1796. According to the passage, President Washington believed that the United States should A. Avoid involvement in the political disputes of Europe, B. Seek financial aid from European nations, C. End all existing European friendship or alliances, D. Discontinue commercial relations with Europe. Question 4. During the 1790s, Federalists and Republicans openly disagreed over A. The extent of popular control of the government, B. Foreign policy toward England and France, C. The activities of Citizen Genet, or D. The fiscal policies of the national government. Question 5. The international incident known as the XYZ affair involved A. A French foreign minister's demand for a bribe before he would meet with American envoys, B. The British refused to evacuate their forts on American territory, C. General Andrew Jackson's incursion into Spanish-held Florida, D. The British seizure of American crewmen from U.S. Navy warship in the Chesapeake Bay. Question 6. Why did the authors of the Articles of Confederation create a weak central government? A. They lacked the understanding of state problems. B. They anticipated the threat of foreign invasion. C. They relied on advice from royal governors. Or D. They feared the kind of rule experienced under the British monarchy. Question 7. Jay's Rebellion of 1786 was significant because it A. Showed that the English still had influence after the American Revolution, B. Convinced many Americans of the need for a stronger national government, C. Revealed the increased threat from rebellious Native American Indians, or D. Endangered the lives of many recent immigrants. Question 8. During the Constitutional Convention of 1787, the major disagreement between the large and small states occurred over the issue of A. Continuation of slavery, B. Guaranteeing states' rights, C. Representation in Congress, or D. Control of interstate commerce. Question 9. Which principle of the United States Constitution is intended to ensure that no one branch of government has more power than another branch? A. Checks and balances, B. Federalism, C. Limited government, or D. Rule of law. Question 10. Federalism is a term used to define the division of power between the A. President and the Vice President, B. Senate and the House of Representatives, C. National and state levels of government, or D. Three branches of the federal government. Question 11. Which of the following does not describe the Louisiana Purchase of 1803? A. The United States purchased Louisiana from France for $15 million. B. French power expanded in the Western Hemisphere. C. The United States doubled in size. Or D. Thomas Jefferson expanded the power of the presidency. Question 12. Many of the decisions made by the Supreme Court while John Marshall was Chief Justice led directly to A. A reduction of federal influence in economic affairs, B, a greater role for Congress in foreign policy, C, a limitation on slavery in the states, or D, an increase in the power of the federal government over the states. Question 13. The election of 1800 showed both Americans and Europeans that A, Americans disliked the political process, B, the Electoral College was unnecessary, C, Adams was devoted to public services, or D, political power could be transferred peacefully. Question 14. Jefferson reduced the influence of the federal government by A, hiring more federal workers, B, increased military spending, C, reducing the size of the federal bureaucracy, or D, abolishing the Bank of the United States. Question 15. Which action of President Thomas Jefferson was in conflict with his belief in a strict interpretation of the Constitution? A, purchasing the Louisiana Territory from France, B, pardoning violators of the Alien and Sedition Acts, C, using the United States Navy to subdue the Barbary pirates, or D, protesting the impressment of the United States sailors. Question 16. The Supreme Court decisions in Marbury v. Madison, 1803, McCulloch v. Maryland, 1819, and Gibbons v. Ogden, 1824, are similar in that each resulted in the A, development of new political parties, B, admission of new slave states, C, strengthening of the power of the federal government, or D, expansion of the rights of corporations. Question 17. Anti-Federalists opposed ratification of the United States Constitution until they were assured that A, a Bill of Rights would be added to the original document to protect citizens from a tyrannical federal government, B, their supporters would receive a fair share of federal jobs, C, the president was given increased powers, or D, senators would be elected directly by the people. Question 18. The outcome of the Whiskey Rebellion in 1794 strengthened the authority of the A, local police, B, national government, C, territorial legislatures, or D, state governors. Question 19. President George Washington set a precedent for all future presidents by A, creating a cabinet of advisors, B, campaigning actively for the office, C, choosing the best lawyer in the nation to be Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, or D, appointing a career soldier to be Secretary of War. And question number last. At the Constitutional Convention, 1787, which issue was resolved by the Great Compromise? A, method of electing the president, B, power of Congress to tax exports, C, regulation of interstate commerce, D, representation of states in Congress. Please remember that you can always go back and re-listen to any of the questions. Don't forget to smash that subscribe button and make sure you follow the YouTube channel. Have a great day.